Good morning, everyone. And for those who are watching from other time zones, especially for the leader that I'm interviewing today, good evening and good afternoon for those in other time zones. And for those who are new in our interviews, my name is Marilyn. I'm the founder and CEO of Customized Training Solutions Private Limited, or CTS, and we are passionate about helping leaders and organizations who are continuous learners and action takers to transform and thrive in all aspects by co creating customized programs with our world class resources. We have served over 3,000 leaders from over 30 countries in different industries, and that includes Petronas, Sony Mobile, PruLife UK, Ayala Group, Chevron, Tencent, Jollibee Foods Corporation, and Shell, to name a few. And the reason why we are organizing this intervention is, including, of course, this interview and several interventions that we do, is because we would like to help leaders who don't know how to stay relevant and adapt in the next normal, those who find it stressful to lead and ensure performance of a remote team, and for those who are afraid that you can't keep your team or your business. And to be able to stay relevant and continue to lead effectively in any situation, do join us in these several interventions, including this interview. And of course, it's my great pleasure to introduce our leader for today. Peiming Sun, or Sunny, was originally from Taiwan and has lived in the US for over 30 years. And in 2020, she has experienced an amazing midlife transformation that she has effortlessly lost 35 pounds, become younger at her look, experienced significant spiritual growth, turned her negativity into sustainable positivity, and boosted her energy and creativity with ease. She's a molecular biologist by trade, a DTM, or Distinguished Toastmaster, an Amazon International bestseller book co-author of Tiny Habits, which sorry, a co-author and also a certified tiny habits coach and lifelong learning. Sunny is the founder of Sunny Life Solutions, and she believes in human potential and supports people over 40 who are juggling it all to ditch self-defeating behaviors and activate innate wisdom for a happy midlife filled with positivity and prosperity. And I'm so proud as well to let you know that she's also personally has coached me when it comes to tiny habits and Gene Keys, which is an amazing content and information about, how would I say that, the genes or the DNA and how it can affect us and how can it make us, use more of our gifts rather than our shadow, right? So thank you
Yes,
so much,
yes.
and I hope I have introduced you. I have introduced you with justice.
Well, thank you, Marilyn. Do you hear me okay?
Yes, I do
Okay,
hear you.
yes,
Okay.
yes. It's my pleasure to be here, and Marilyn is such a great person to work together. And yes, we have a fun for a 30 days Gene Key journey, and also the reason I really love Gene Key is like I just have so much of the connection with the DNA. I'm the molecular biologist, and I become certified and all the things and around the DNA. Then I have a special needs son. He also has a genetic defect
Mhm.
disease. Then I'm not now study all the gene keys and all talk about this protein and DNA. And I also has a product is based on the technology, stem cell technology. So
Mhm.
I can say I'm definitely connected with the DNA in all different levels.
Yes, and it's amazing. I mean, like, before we actually even start with the questions, I mean, we are composed of our DNA, right? I mean, like, and it's amazing how we can do or like even transform in with the tiny habits and the, like, how we respond to certain things as well. So that's going to be an interesting conversation, I would say. I know that, I have a certain theme and I follow several questions, but I'm sure, through this conversation, they will learn more about gene keys or other things that, you do as well. So, I mean, to get started with, I would normally ask the first three questions to really understand from which perspective are you coming from. And then I would say the meaty or juicy part of the conversation would be the 4 to 6 questions. And the very interesting part will be towards the end, which is the 7 to 8 question, which would be your Miss Universe questions, as I would I would say. So to get started, please do share with us your leadership experiences. If you have like specific influencers that you follow as well, or if you do have a leadership style that you'd like to share with us, feel free to do so.
Yeah, thank you, Marilyn. Yes, I love this topic about leadership and transformation. Actually, being a leader itself is a transformation process, right? If we
Yes.
are used to be a follower, then whew, you shift that identity, become someone you have to make decision, you know. And so, in the corporation level, I think that definitely is a journey. We need to get the skills and move up. So, for myself, I came to the foreign country, that's United States, freshly graduate from my school in Taiwan. So I didn't even work. I just transfer and get my school apply. So I come here to study further. But after graduate, I did get into a local university laboratory because
Mhm.
I have a master degree after I graduate, and so I lead 3 different undergraduate students. It's my supervisor, right? Then I'm kind of supervise them to do things. But I'm still kind of a transition into a foreign country. I don't really speak good English that time. Then the undergrad student, they are hard worker, but sometimes I cannot really lead them because they know more than I do. Like when I get out the laboratory, I know nothing, right? Because I'm still the foreigner. So we have a really good relationships with like we exchange our knowledge, we support one another. Other
Mhm.
than I just give them the instruction, you should do this 1, 2, 3 based on the research because I got a degree, you don't, right? I think that's maybe my personal style. I become just like part of them. I can relate to their struggle because they are just started to learn science. And for me, they understand my struggle because they are knowing sometimes we have a joke. You know, I talk about something, they just like, huh? What is that? So then they kind of like, oh, in America, we do this. So I think that really give me a good foundation about, I just want to observe. I just
Mhm.
need to understand how I can do things differently or they do things I can show them differently. So it's more like it's other than teaching the same thing, I'm more flexible about
Mhm.
things I can share. So I think that's more like my leadership style.
Mhm.
Yes.
So more on observing and sharing what you know. Did I get it right? Right.
Mhm. Yes, yes.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing that. I mean, you started kind of early because during your school days you've been already showed how how you can be a leader as well by you know observing, sharing what you know, and being able to adapt. I would say, like you've moved from Taiwan to America, like what you've said, and you're not even like English is not really even your main language, right? And it's all about like adapting and really observing what's going on around you through the process, right? Yeah, so thank you for sharing. And having said that, that is your favorite style where you do observe a lot and share a lot with those people that you work with, then what is leadership for you?
Well, I because my background, I'm from the East, and so I study. Well, not even study, just now I'm study. But before, when I just kind of totally exposed to this Eastern philosophy,
Mm-hmm.
And so I think based I like to observe based on I just like have some fun. So I observe the human behavior in a way. And I think I so that's how I become the habit coach, because I can just flow with this behavior design, all that, because of psychology and also the human behavior. And but I think my really just recent I realized there is a term called self leadership. And I
Mm-hmm.
just like, wow, it's like if I'm just myself, why I still want to be a leader, right? But I finally learned actually that's the most important leadership we need to build, to manage ourselves, to get out all this negative thoughts. Sometimes we just pop it in and say, come on, I'm busy, get out. But how can you do that? You need to have discipline and the self-awareness, right? Self-confidence. These are all the fundamental for us to become the best of ourselves. Then we can be a best leader for others. So the self-leadership, I think, is just so crucial. But because we're busy, we are, have a family and work, and we only see someone, maybe that's a good leadership. We read books, and so we just follow the leadership we feel the most comfortable with. But sometimes, a lot of time, we don't have time for ourselves to evolve with who we are. Our identity shift sometimes is not complete. So for me, I think self leadership is more like just go inner and analyze, the identity shift I have from the follower become the leader. But before the really leading others, we need to get rid of our things we don't want them to follow us anymore, right? So we ditch our follower. We don't want them to follow us anymore, which is like the limiting beliefs and the bad behaviors, or not eating good, not sleeping good. Those things, in order to take more responsibility, I realized I need to let it go before I can really take more opportunity and responsibility. I think for me, that's a self leadership.
Wow, thank you for sharing that. And again, like I mean, I would agree with you that it all starts with yourself, right? How can you lead others when you can't even lead yourself, right? And again, that's all about having that awareness you've mentioned, the discipline that you have to have in order to do what you have to do or what you're supposed to do, right? And we've also talked about a lot on awareness and leadership, and I guess that's also in the same community where I met you, where like people are really like talking about like leadership in terms of how can I lead myself so I can help and lead others as well, right? And in our introduction as well earlier, we've made mention about like the changes that happened recently, which some people would call as new normal or next normal. And you've mentioned earlier about like how people do evolve, like how human beings do evolve, and that's part of like what I've learned also from Gene Keys. And so like that leads me to my next question: how would you define or describe the next normal, whether it's through leadership or the things that you do, or even like in terms of the changes in the human behavior, perhaps.
Yes, yes. I think we all have changed a lot, right? In the past, we do have a physical meeting, in a lot of events happening. All the lockdown and stuff is still going on now. We have to adapt to a different way to connect with people.
Mhm.
For example, those virtual meeting, we actually suck out all the energy to our eyes. Our eyes the best to be, the sunlight, not the artificial indoor lights. So most of us feel tired, like even more tired when we go work in the physical, because all this energy, the Blu-ray through our eyes, really just not the best for our human body. So that, well, I think while human in 2 years too short, but I think we have like goggle, glasses and all the technology to help us to protect our eyes. And also we might have a new habits, every hours you have to leave that technology to a different place. And even somebody is really sensitive about the digital, the current, they have to actually shut down all this Wi-Fi. Otherwise they cannot sleep. So more and more, I believe we become more sensitive about those technology.
Mm-hmm.
We depend so much now, business, school, even just doctor office, doctor, like my son, I don't feel safe to take him out of the house. So all the doctor appointment is done by the internet. And so that old lifestyle start to shift to be just using the digital. And the digital frequency, we all know, is not necessarily fitting with our heart. And that's how I think most of people start to have agitation and just not feel comfortable by end of the day if we do too much of the virtual activity. And so I think the human behavior definitely we will going to be evolved. It's a different kind of the technology. Maybe it's better for our health and for our communication wise. But the sky's the limit. We don't even know what will happen. But I have a faith human will be evolving in totally different ways.
And at least it's a good reminder for everyone that we are continuously evolving as well, right? And again, when we say next normal, I always hear this being able to adapt to the changes. And again, like as human, we always like yearn to connect with other people, and so whether it's like what you've mentioned, whether really adapting or also learning about the technology or the digital to be able to continue to do so, right? So yeah, I appreciate that. And so I mean, we've been actually hearing a lot of problems in this next normal because of the changes that people haven't really like figured out a lot. And but at the same time, we all know that from our experience, I mean, you've also worked in the corporate world for 11 years, and now working with like individuals, or even professionals and corporate leaders in what you do right now. And obviously that most leaders have faced like some problems of some kind as well, whether it was in the previous normal, I would say, or in the next normal. So what would you say would be the top three problems that humans or leaders would normally face?
Well, I think the first things they need to trust the people they work with. I think this easier to get done because you can see, are they doing it, right? But if you are virtual, if they are not there working in your cameras, and we all know we're going to be something going on in our life, right? The dog
Mhm,
is sick, we have to just like turn off the camera, but we are doing something else.
mhm,
And so the leader is just, I think the trust among the people they lead, or
mhm,
they just have to get more of the responsibility to others because the
mhm,
leader couldn't really do a lot, right? So
mhm,
I think that the trust, the relationships need to build solid
mhm,
first. So they are not just going to be not get their work done or get excuses, right? So the trust need to get there, but also you need to have some guidelines. So they are need to follow those other than just okay, this is it. Then without very clear guidelines for those people you lead.
mhm,
And the second one, I think what I mentioned about is the uh, other than the trust is also you need to simplify the process. Right?
mhm,
In the past, maybe you have a different department, so you can all get down like this. But if everybody online with something, then you have so many gaps. Like this, need to get three-step between you can get approval or something. Is there any way to simplify a little bit, right? Just email is convenience, but also email has got so many email nobody want to. So then what else? It might have some kind of the templates and we can adapt to. That's how all the app, right? Everybody with a phone, and that become the next wave of the business, I think. Then the other is just the health, right? Because when we are out of a sight, out of a mind, but we know it's there, right? When you're not seeing people the result, you don't really know if you're like are they doing it or not done, right? So that uncertainty is very not settled for our human mind,
Mm-hmm.
right? So when you get that, so you just don't know what is going on, and the stress level going so high because then
Mm-hmm.
you don't have control because they are, on the other side of a computer. You couldn't, yeah, choke their hand or spat anyway. So you just like, ah. So that stress level, I definitely see that is we need to have a way to manage that,
Mm-hmm.
right? Otherwise it's tough because you don't have a break. You do a physical, you have a coffee break, right? You have the bio, you can go to party, but if you're online and back to back,
Mm-hmm.
you drain your energy too pretty quick. So I mean, the self discipline for leader and take care of their health become more important than the past.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say that's the three thing I believe that's definitely impact a lot of leaders right now.
Okay, I hope I got it correctly. I got distracted for a bit, but in my summary, it's trust and building solid relationship with your
And
team,
simplify the process,
simplifying
then
the
take
process,
care of yourself.
and
Hmm.
take care of yourself. I put stress there actually, but that's
Yeah.
part of having like I guess well-being. I believe you've mentioned around like us being able to cope up with uncertainty, and I mean I could relate so much to this, right? Probably I should put well-being, right? Taking care of your own well-being, which has been like a reflection and a realization for most people in the last 2 years, because we've always think of work, 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 and we never get to balance it a lot when it comes to like our own well-being, our mental health and physical health, or even if there's like any consideration among this, it's always around physical health, well, where people would exercise, diet, and all those stuff. But then sometimes it could be draining, as you've mentioned as well, with the stress that the uncertainty would bring about to whether it's work or in our life, right? And and this is really kind of spot on for me as well, based on my gene keys. Like being able to simplify things, and being able to take care of stress as well are some of my shadows, I would say.
Well, or that is how we are all born with our default, right? The default is like, let us learn the lesson. We got totally tired or angry and sad. That's all the default. But in order to, go to the other side, become more involved, that's the necessary. It's as long as we don't totally burn out, we don't have energy to move on. So
Mm-hmm.
even I think anxiety and depressed for more than 2 years when I was working in the corporation and I had a divorce and have a special needs son. So I do have that period. I feel like that's just no need to be going outside the house. And taking the shower, I'm like crying. I feel like I'm crying among the water, like I'm taking the shower with. So, we all have those moments. And I think the reason I finally just like, all right,
I'm done
everybody
with
have something and they just let it go. It's just like, all right, so I have enough, so bye, I don't want to see you anymore. and, it gradually, not like overnight, okay? So still we need to work. That's how the self-leadership to in life, we need to be gentle, love ourselves first. It's not everything we can solve.
it.
If
Mm-hmm.
something we cannot solve, well, if we outside our control, why waste our
Mm-hmm.
energy? But we're not that wise. We have to go through a lot of this change. And then I say, if I really cannot handle that 10 things, maybe we think that 10 thing, I have three
Mm-hmm.
things I couldn't let go. So
Mm-hmm.
more focus on that, you can control. And all other seven things, just in Chinese way, just open one eyes and close one eyes. It just let it go.
Yes, true, true. I mean, we've spoke about the problem, and again, I've mentioned to you that some of these are also like some things that I'm working on right now, around stress, simplifying the processes and things that I do, systematizing things, and doing all my best to be able to automate. and simplify even the communications I have with others, right? And so it's very important, I would say. And at least it, again, it starts with awareness, right? Now that we know the top three problems, so what's next, right? So what would you say would be the important leadership capabilities or skills that, you must have to be able to continue to lead effectively in the next normal?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I always have the three A's I want to share with anybody. Get connect with me. The fourth, we already talk about a lot of awareness, right? We need to aware our strengths, and then we
Mhm,
to aware the environment is anything we can simplify the process,
mhm,
right?
mhm,
Or we can aware maybe we don't have a good relationship. We don't really trust people yet. So
mhm,
those is all the first step, awareness. So it's the first A. And the second A is attention. It's tough, right? We have all the things going on, and the phone ringing, and the ding ding, all this technology just remind us to do something, and all the distraction. And I think for us, really, can do some kind of like a time block, right? So this time I only do this and shut down everything. So this can be done by the tiny habit, right? We have all this way to coach people to just focus on the moments. And the
mhm,
third A, I would say, is acceptance. It's life is not like a black and white, right? So life will always have different color and coming in and out, up and down. Um, you couldn't really against it if that is the way we always against the wave, then we waste a lot of energy. And I
mhm,
think for the mature leader, once they experience, they trust, they have a good relationship, they can just flow with the situation. But they find out the reason, they fix the problem, but they don't trap in there to figure out who is to blame. So you have to accept this is the whole thing already happened. And the best thing is just to move on and solve the problem other than to figure out who is doing that or why I'm here to solve the problem. Or, it just, the emotion get involved, things become even more difficult for the whole team. So I think acceptance is not just say, okay, I give up, I'm fine. It's just in that moment what you can do, right? Just moving on with the future, something can solve it other than always go back to the past and find out who is the one to point a finger to. That is wasting a lot of life, right? So again, that's awareness, attention, and acceptance that can definitely help everybody in any kind of a situation. Even you stay home mom, you still need those, right?
exactly. And I really love how you've actually made it easier for us to understand by using the triple A that you've mentioned, which is awareness, attention, and acceptance. And again, like, it's a common experience, I would say, based on my interviews and conversations I have with some of my clients around, like, psychological safety, I would say, where, that, like what you've said, wasting time on the what's this, finger pointing and whom to blame and all those stuff. And sometimes, I had this conversation as well with I think he's a COO now, of another company of an F&B company. And then he said, like, sometimes there are easy solutions to that, but it's just that sometimes we get the emotions um, way ahead before we actually think, like, you can actually borrow from other stores. And why he get angry, who did not notice this, who did, all those blah 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 things that some people, it's just because, it's the emotion takes over at times, where even if we can think of so many easy solutions to the or to solve the problem, right?
Mhm.
But then we let the emotion, get in the way as well. So yeah, thank you for reminding us. This is, I would say, like a very important reminder for everyone not to get, emotions. And I guess that's also the reason why, we've been hearing around emotional intelligence, um, EI, and all those
Mhm.
uh, things are nowadays, that, as a leader, we have to be in charge of our emotions as well. I
Yeah,
know it's
yeah,
not
yeah.
easy.
Well, the emotion I consider now like a gift for human being, because we might be the few of species can really feel things.
Mhm.
Um, but it's also a challenge, right? When we use
True.
it the wrong way and it just overwhelmed with our negativity, or just because the past experience we have the filter. So
Mhm.
everything happened similar like the past, which is automatically judge this is the same thing, so they are the bad guy, I'm gonna hurt. So the protection pew, you just start to do that. So we all
Really.
have that. It just, again, that is about awareness about the past is the past. The past ourselves is not the self we are here, and the future self is also not us. We can only do now, right? So I
Exactly.
mean, for now is a practice. It's not like, people can do meditation, they can live in the moment. Not necessary. It is just a process and a different way to live in the moments, not just being still. You can still do a lot of things, but if you pay attention, you're doing one thing and then you pay attention, that is living the moments, right? You don't need to be like a yoga, go to the gym and sit there for 10 minutes. Yeah, you live
Mhm.
in the moments. No, we live in the moment all the time if we choose to, right?
Correct. Yes,
Yes, but the
yes.
emotions definitely a gift if we use the right way. Mhm.
Mm-hmm. And that's another gift that you're sharing with us, or reminding us. It's really to be able to live in the present moment, right? Because that's the only moment we have, right? At the end
Yes.
of the day, that's present is the only, like, only thing that we have now, right? Because the past is the past. We can't really, correct or get it back again. And
Mhm.
again, I would recall the conversations that we have, because that's also like something that I have to work on. I'm very emotional person. So that's really something that I have to be in control with. I mean, I cannot be a victim of somebody else's negativity. And as we know, like what you've mentioned earlier, we have to be aware of our environment as well, right? And part of that is being able to handle, all the negativity that surrounds us, unfortunately.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, sometimes compassion can help because we can
Mhm.
relate. But most of the time is if we don't need to try to control it. That's the other things. Like, it's a very paradoxical. When you try to pay attention to changing things, those things become more and more. They're stronger. So if
Mhm.
you just don't pay attention, boom, and they're just not there. Um, for example, if you want to try to find a book, like
Mhm.
the book, you know the name, you know the picture. So, but you look for your room, you just couldn't find it. It's just so frustrated because you're constantly saying, "I cannot find it," right?
Mhm.
So you tell yourself, "I cannot find it." So when you using the language like a do, don't, not, know, you negative out. So your eyes won't see it. Your hearing actually don't hear it either. That is just how the human body built. So other than so I cannot find it, we just I tried it so many times, so I know it work. It just egg out the room, and I just do something else, and I say I don't need it now. Then you go by there, you can see it. Yeah, it's just like because we full attention, so I cannot do it. But like you say, I don't need it. I'm fine. I'm fine. I could do it later. Actually, you
Mhm.
don't say I don't need it. You can say I find it later because you don't want to use negative in your sentence again.
Mhm.
So then the later will come in much sooner than you go dig out everything.
Thank you for that technique. I'll do that when I when I'm looking for something. And before I proceed to the next question, I just would like to acknowledge some of the people who are joining us live. Thank you so much, Desmond. Good morning to you, and to Suradi as well. Good morning. Thank you for joining us live today, and please feel free to ask us your questions or any comments if there's any anyone who's watching us live today. Join us here, connect with us, or ask us a question. I mean, for sure, Sunny will be able to answer the question. Pass on to you. Yeah. So thank you so much again for those who are watching us live, and for those who would watch us in the replay. For sure, you're gonna get a lot of nuggets from Sunny as well. So and that leads me to my next question. I mean, we've talked about awareness, being able to learn and lead ourselves as well. So what do you believe is the role of learning, leadership, and transformation in thriving in the next normal?
Yeah, I was still focused on the self part, self awareness, self discipline, self confidence,
Mm-hmm.
self analysis, but not too much. And
Mm-hmm.
also just the self love, because
Mm-hmm.
that is, if we really don't love ourselves enough, then we constantly feel like we are like empty. We are needing other people's approval or recognitions or anything outside to feel that emptiness. But we
Mm-hmm.
all know those things is not reliable, right? Everything can come and go, but your mood, your love for yourself shouldn't come and going. It should be there all the time. So when you have all that, and it'll be easier to adapt, because when you don't feel happy or you don't feel successful, it's difficult to change. That's the behavior design again. So the reason we cannot sometimes just move on and change our identity or build the habits and everything we want to is really we are stressed out in the process, other than we already got it. It's just different way. We need to feel happy first. And we don't need those things to feel happy. We're already happy. And everything they're attracted by us will be boost us even higher, right? So that is really everything from the inside, then you get out become much easier than we try to get outside, then burn out through the process, or even maybe we're put a letter in the wrong place. So somebody didn't really know what they want to say, oh, that might be nice. I was one of that. Just put a letter in there like client, oh, you'd be shiny object on there by going to the top and say, I don't even like it, right? So you coming out. So before you put your letter in somewhere, the self-analysis, your who who you're supposed to become, and your gifts, your special gene keys, your lights, your essence. They are there. We just need to find a way to find it. Then everything we do will be aligned with that true self. Then it'll be much easier, right? But we were not that. We supposed to be in the journey to discover where to put our letter in.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
even we maybe put it around, man, we still learn a lot of things, right? We still, I don't like this, or I learn don't say this, or don't do this because you make people mad. So then we can make the choice once you learn the lesson, right? So I think it's just everything go back to the self leadership again,
Mm-hmm.
regardless of normal or no normal or the new normal is you are all center, you are all who you are. So outside is really just adapt. So if you're happy inside, you adapt easier, then you don't have a lot of stress. But
Mm-hmm.
if we don't really align or we don't really love ourselves enough, so adapt, the change become difficult. That's how a lot of people say change are difficult. Well, again, you already negative it out. Difficult, right? You already say it's difficult, and not going to happen for until you say, well, life is joy, life is simple. Then things will be so different because really we get what we believe. So
Wow, thank you. It's very interesting. We've talked about leadership, self leadership, especially learning. And again, this learning and leadership are always required for you to have that transformation. And again, I remembered having this. I think in the summit that I have attended, some of the speakers actually shared about having joy in the workplace. And again, it's like, I would say, like one of the topmost goal that we supposed to have is really have to have that happiness. And like you've said, it's an inside job. I mean, being happy on the inside so that you can adapt easily on the outside as well, right? And I think this is like a lot of people do do have challenge in, because they always try to please other people, or they always try to define success according to how other people define it. And again, there's like success or fulfillment is dependent on each person, right? And
Yeah.
so this is a good reminder for everyone to just be happy, and just being yourself is already a gift to others, right?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, we are all miracle. We start from the single cells, right? Then
Mm-hmm.
we become fully functioning. We can eat, we can do things, we can, do a lot of things from the single cells. So look at all the miracle and energy we have, all everybody. So we every day I have the tiny habit. I remind myself how lucky I can still open my eyes. And I can still have a day to experience. I can still eat. I can still see and smell, the five senses. And think about so many things might happen when
Mm-hmm.
we are in the belly, right? And developing, everything can happen. But we don't have major problem. Even with the people has a problem, they are a
Mm-hmm.
special gift. They need to experience it differently, right? Just like my son, he's just totally different than most of other normal people. But it is a gift, and it's hard for us to see it first. You just say, "Oh, how unlucky! How unfortunate we have to go through this, and we have to have so many life situations with that." But like I talk about, that's the default. We all come in with a package. You need to be open up the boxes and take out all the old thing and just find that little pearl, whatever the shiny object that really is deep in that box. But if you don't take out all the things, you're not going to see that.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes say the inner job happiness is because we need to take out the unhappiness first. It's not dig out the box to find who's in there, but it's just take it out. Take it out. You start ditch them. Then it's right there. It's always there.
Yes, and it's really all about also like focusing on the things that you can control, right? Like
Mhm.
in my case, I'm a very small person. So, but I don't mind. I mean, I get to like, go to small places because I'm small. And when you cannot reach something, you can just, get something to to step on, right? I mean, I had that experience in my previous job where we are supposed to get like from a furnace of chicken. I used to work in Kenny Rogers before, and I'm very small, and even my hands are kind of little. So, but I can. I mean, I can carry it. I'm very strong. So like it's like I have one of my friends who is like so like I see him like smiling at me, like how his eyes glows when he sees me like do the things that they thought that I can't, right? So it's also fun. I mean, like, continuously challenging yourself, and being able to be grateful for whatever you have, and like, get a solution out of, the things that you can't control, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we need to reserve our energy to something we can make a change. We can make a transformation, which is ourselves. We cannot change other people. We might change us, then influence, then we can have a whole organization transform. But
Mm-hmm.
if everybody have a different definition about change, and it become tough. But if everybody just go in there, so I want to be a better person, I want to love everything, I want to feel peace with anybody, then we don't need to worry about a lot of things outside. But
Mm-hmm.
in today's society, it's becoming impossible because it's so complicated.
Yeah, true.
And but that is a, if somebody think that's difficult, and that won't happen, that's our
Mm-hmm.
mind is very strong. So it'd be easier just to start to do little behavior changes, love yourself a little bit better every day, then give
Yes.
yourself a space. When you really just feel you feel overloaded, don't
Mm-hmm.
force your body already tell you need a break, you need a break, so listen to it.
True.
Then, and also, like, everybody's different. If they are having a bad day, give them a little bit understanding. They are
Mm-hmm.
not because they don't like you. They're
Mm-hmm.
just stuck in their own journey, right? They have something they cannot process. So,
Mm-hmm.
but we do need to protect ourselves. If somebody's constantly show us the negativity or something, we need to find out a way to block it out too. But
True.
that's how the self-love is the greatest love at all. If you don't protect yourself, you don't love yourself enough, it's hard to move out and
Mm-hmm.
become really the happy person. But we all have a journey. Like, I was totally not happy, I'm angry, I'm depressed, I'm overweight, all that. But I can sleep. That's, I never lose the sleep. So that is kind of blessing. So I can like, when people don't sleep, you know what happened? That relate to the DNA. So
Mm-hmm.
during the day, we think about something, we learn something, we exercise, we damage our DNA.
Mm-hmm.
So in a way, we always damage ourselves. But the only time we can repair ourselves is during the sleep.
Mm-hmm.
That's how, regardless you're busy or something, if you don't have a quality of a sleep, your DNA cannot be repaired. So then, how many years you living like that lifestyle, and eventually DNA start to cannot do their job, and even the agent is part of that. You think
Mm-hmm.
agent is like nature? No, like, actually, if you don't damage your DNA that way, you don't aging that fast. So it's whole thing is the DNA, this whole thing. It's not only just your genetic, your look, your hair color. It is you. Like, we have totally a control. We have a choice to slow down the aging. We can have a happiness. So everything is a choice. But we need to understand until we get experienced, right? So I
True.
finally say, yeah, I finally learned that, but the science is also evolving. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm so excited to see next 10 years. It will be a lot of things we don't even know today.
True, true. A
So
lot of changes, things evolve, not only people but also like, the things that we know and discover as well. So thank you also for reminding us about like how we can be in control of our own aging as well. Like for
yeah.
those who are listening who wants to stay and look young. So the secret, you get enough sleep. And all the things that will be right, doing all the right things for your body as well. And before I proceed to the last two question, I just want to say and acknowledge Don Paulo Villaria for joining us. And again, Desmond said you're welcome, so thank you for again joining us today. So my next question now is a very interesting question. Like, and I'm curious to know that if you have a magic wand that you can use, what will you do with it? And
Well,
just share with
actually,
me.
the happy design, we use the magic wand to let people to build their behavior. So if I really do have that, well, I will choose still to find a reason to save my son. He has this genetic disease. Like the
Mm-hmm.
doctor say, nobody can live
Mm-hmm.
over 20. He's 25.
Oh
So
wow.
he's still there, but of course he has zero lung functions, and his heart is still beating okay. But he's the only place he can move is his head.
Mm-hmm.
or is or paralyzed. So
Mm-hmm.
he's still there. But I do hope, that's how I say 10 years from now. We don't know the DNA technology. It
Mm-hmm.
might have a way it just save it, right? So that is really the breakthrough. If we, the human being, can really understand how our life going on,
Mm-hmm.
the body, mind, soul, they work together, right? To figure out how to make these things we think is impossible become possible. We
Mm-hmm.
already did a lot, right? We sent people to the moon. We have a satellite now. We can travel around the world with an airplane. This is like impossible, right? So I really think if I do have that, I just think we need to find a way to all connect it other than just save human, it's saving the world, right? The DNA is everything has a DNA. So if
Mm-hmm.
something going wrong, then maybe we can save it.
Wow, that's beautiful. And I mean, like with the things that you do and the work that you have been doing recently, I mean, in one way or another, for sure, you're saving so much lives as well, especially when it comes to connecting it with DNA, the little habits that, people have. It's really, and I mean, like what you mentioned, the doctor said, for your son particularly, that usually they only live up to 20 and he's now 25, so that's a miracle. And that's a magic as if you have a magic wand on your hands, just by taking care of your son. He managed to see the world, stay in the world, and live um, and continue to live his life, right? And that's amazing. So, and again, like, we all want to find ways to be able to save the human in the world. So I really hope we can do this in, like, the work that we currently do as well, right?
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
so, and that leads me to my last question. If you were to ask yourself a question that you can best answer, what would it be? And if you'd like to share with us your answer as well, feel free to do so.
So if I got a chance to ask myself a question,
Mhm.
what question I want to ask, and the answer with the
That,
question.
like, if you were to ask yourself a question that you can best answer, what would it be? Yeah, it's a question that you can answer well as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I think I mentioned that too. Like if somebody say, can we get what we believe? Right? The answer is yes. So the question, if someone say, can we get what we believe? And I will say yes, because that is really pure science. We have part of our brain and it's all programmed, right? So when we don't believe we can do it, and that program is just going to operate our life. So then the good answer is, once you know yourself, once you love yourself enough, you start to see that is definitely a choice. Because when we again living in the past, everybody or everything we download in our brain, we
Mm,
believe that is what we are supposed to get. But the good news is we actually has a way to break the code. So when you break the code, you might know, like subconscious or the hypnotherapy, they are all doing that tackle of that system. So then you can actually change the belief. But when we change it, it's not necessarily need to be somebody doing that with you. It's more like the journey, like the gene key journey, right? The voyage. You have to go through all this life work, evolution, breakthrough, go to the attraction, all that, and you will find actually there is your past. You can say bye to it, but not because you don't like it. It's like you accept that past. So that actually, when you accept that, that means you become aware, right? The system in our mind is because we are not aware we can accept that. So it's kind of, huh? But anyway, it just, what I find out is if we accept all the things happen, not because we hate it or we just totally like, other than just say, I accept that because that's a part of me, right? Then that things become your awareness. When you things become your awareness, those things is not bothering you anymore because you have a control to keep it or let it
Mm-hmm.
go,
Mm-hmm.
right? So the best answer is like, yes, we can get what we believe, but we need to know what we believe first. What is the program? What is the downloading we have in the childhood, right? We need to heal those. We need to let it go. And then finally you will say, yeah, that is all there. And from that point on, you have to select it to believe things.
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't really just, all right, I believe everything. No. Right? You know, like, okay, I already let go of those. Don't coming back, you know. So that would work.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing us that very interesting question. And I really appreciate this is very, I would say, very enlightening conversation and also very inspiring as well at the same time. So thank you so much for sharing with us all your answers. And before we end this conversation, is there like a message that you'd like to share or bring into or remind our audience with?
Yeah, I would like to connect with people. If you think you want to have a conversation, just contact me. I'm in the linking and we
Mhm,
can have a conversation and to see whether we have opportunity to collaborate or you want me to be your podcast. I like to speak. You can say I can talk forever. And and I just like to be somewhere, connect with people and share like, yeah, we don't need to be the old self. We have all the option to be a new one, but might need some conversation going on for people want to have a transformation. Because
mhm,
I didn't get that for like 20 some years. If I know I have the ability, I can do it right there, right? Mm-mm. I just have to learn my lesson. So for people around it too, I don't think nobody can heal us. Only we can heal ourselves, right? But you do need as people to activate people. Then you can go on with your journey or some kind of products. You feel it's like, oh, I don't feel painful anymore. So you do need to have the instant heal by something outside, but
mhm,
then you need to start to have your confidence and stuff. So I like to be the person to activate people by speaking, by connection, by maybe just consultation. So anybody will like to connect and just let me know and we can collect it and then linking and we can see what we
mhm.
can collaborate.
Wow, thank you so much for that message, Sunny. And we really appreciate this conversation. We've learned so much from it. It's very enlightening, I would say, especially around the DNA and self leadership, awareness, tiny habits, and all those. And again, like for those who wanted to be activated, connect with Sunny as well. Or if there's anything more that we can help you with, feel free to connect with us. I'm flashing our contact details as well. And again, thank you, Sunny, for this wonderful conversation. I really appreciate it. And thank you for your time. I know it's late on your side of the world. And of course, thank you everyone for watching us, for joining us today, especially those who've actually engaged with us live. And join us in this journey to create opportunities through several interventions that can help in creating the world that we believe in, and that is full of opportunities. And remember that even the richest investor in this world would say that investing in yourself is the best investment you can ever make in your life. So with
Yes.
that, yes, definitely right. So, with that, we would like to leave you with this quote that if your actions create a legacy that inspires others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, then you are an excellent leader. Thank you so much, honey, and thank you, everyone. Stay safe.
Thank you. Thank you, Marilyn. Take care.
Take care. Bye for now.